Hello and welcome everyone to this video, 20 days to CAT 2023, and as serious aspirants, what you should be doing in 20 days, what you should not be doing in these 20 days, what you should be doing as far as your quantitative ability as a section is concerned, your LRDI, your BRC, all of that is something that we are going to discuss. The first point that we are going to discuss is what not to do in these 20 days, followed by what to do in general in these 20 days, then followed by the subject matter, that is verbal ability and reading comprehension, what you should be doing for verbal ability and reading comprehension specifically, and so is the case for LRDI and quantitative ability section. Let's now get into this and try and understand what you are not supposed to do in the next 20 days in the lead up to CAT. The first thing that I don't want any one of you to do is to write multiple mocks in a day. I don't want you to write one mock in the morning, one in the afternoon, one in the evening. It's not going to get any benefits whatsoever to you, right? The simple reason to say this is because when you write a mock, it is very, very important to derive your learning out of your mock. So you will, if you don't give yourself time to reflect on what you did in the mock, then there is no point writing another mock, because it is the same person writing the next mock and you are not going to get any different result. Plus and minus 10 will of course be there, but beyond that you will not find too much of a difference just by writing the mocks. Had that been the case, you should actually, sit in the morning, write one mock, second, third, fourth, fifth, in a day write 2 3 mocks, and then finish off all 30 mocks in the next let's say about 10 days. Will it get you the desired score? In all probability, it will not get you the desired score. So please avoid writing multiple mocks in a day. Trying new strategies on the paper is a wrong thing to do at this moment, because for a strategy to come good for yourself, it requires a practice of that particular strategy for about 3 4 5 mocks at least, right? At this moment, I believe most of you would have done a lot of mocks. You would have come down to a strategy that works for you. There are several things that you can do on the paper, and for every student they need to come down to a situation where they say that this works for me and this does not work for me. So strategy A might work for you and strategy B might work for me. Doesn't mean that your strategy A was wrong or my strategy B was wrong, right? So what works for you, you should have gotten down to it by now, and just practice that more in the lead up to the CAT paper, so that you are 100% certain that my strategy works for me. That's all. Do not look at variety of strategies available. Do not look at all the suggestions which are present online. They're not going to do any good for the next 20 days to you. This is a very significant point. I want all of you to understand that please do not do any kind of physical or mental exercises that tires you out. Okay, so let's say I'm going for a trek. Now that does not sound good to me at this moment, because it's going to be of course tiring. Spending too much of a time in the gym, it's not a very good idea at this moment to tire your body and then expect it to perform well on that particular day of the CAT paper. So I would ask you to just do regular things. Go for a walk. It's absolutely fine. If you are used to running, then go for a running according to your abilities, and don't stretch yourself on any front in terms of physical or mental, that can get you physical or mental stress. Now if there are any kind of not so great conversations that you want to have with people around you, then try and avoid those conversations for another 20-25 days. It's anything that can wait for 20-25 days must wait at this moment. It should not come up at this moment, because it's going to disturb you mentally or physically. It's going to take a toll on your score. So let's not do that. Overexposure to public forums. In fact, I will go to an extent of saying that it should be zero exposure to public forums. I'm not going to name specific forums because that's not fair, but any kind of a place where there are hundreds and thousands of students discussing things must be avoided at this moment, because it creates a lot of negative impact on you when you start knowingly or unknowingly start comparing yourself with those individuals without personally knowing them, without personally knowing their stories and all of those. Like for example, there might be a forum wherein students might be saying that I wrote XYZ mock, and in that mock I've scored 150 as a score. Now if you look at that 150 as a score and by chance you happen to have taken that particular mock, you are very very quickly going to get into a mode of comparison, and that's not a good idea for you. This is just one example that's the way exposing yourself to public forums creates a problem for you. So please do not be a part of any kind of public forum which where unsolicited opinions and advices are being rolled out, please don't do that, right? Because you can't reach out to those individuals, you can't talk to them. What they're saying, what they're not, what they mean by what they're saying is something that you cannot question them, you cannot get down to the exact meaning, and that creates a problem for you. So please avoid any kind of an exposure to public forums. Whatever is necessary for you to know is present on the cat website. Just go on to the cat website, and if there is any information that you want to pick it up from that particular website. Whatever is necessary and important for you is present on that website. Beyond that, do not look at anything else which is present in the social media, which is present on platforms like Quora or any other platform for that matter. Do avoid that for at least 20 days. Avoid any kind of major distraction. So what major distractions am I talking about? Let's say you have an invite for a party in the for the late night, right? Let's not do that at this moment, because it's just 20 days to cat. We can do all of this post your cat getting over, but at this moment this is going to be very, very distracting. So let's say you have you are planning a vacation before cat. This is not a very good idea, because you need to stay warmed up for your paper. So please uh, avoid any kind of distractions that are coming your way. So with this, we have spoken about what not to do on this in this 20 days. Let's speak about what to do in these 20 days. Sleep well. It's a must that you sleep well. Don't lose your sleep. Don't say that I'm going to sleep for 2 hours and practice so many questions. At this moment, it's not going to be beneficial for you. Gone are those days where you should have slogged it really, really well, or you should have studied 15 hours, 20 hours. All of those days are now gone. What you should be doing at this moment is taking a good sleep, good strong sleep, a good long sleep for yourself. 6 to 8 hours is absolutely advisable. You don't need to cut it down to, let's say, a 4 hours or a 3 hours kind of a sleep. It's not a good idea to do, because your mind gets tired, and a tired brain is not going to perform well on the paper for sure, right? So sleep well. Stay mentally and physically fit. Now, in the previous slide, I told you to not take too much of a pressure physically or mentally. I'm still sticking to that. I'm saying stay mentally and physically fit. A regular exercise routine that you've been going through is perfectly fine to continue, right? There's absolutely no problem. Anything that calms you down, anything that pleases you and is not a strenuous activity, please go ahead and do it. Keep yourself calm. Stay mentally and physically fit. I don't want you to face a situation 2 days before cat where you are not feeling well about yourself mentally or physically, right? So stay in that zone. Do what works for you. Do not stretch too much on any activity for that matter. Maintain your appropriate body clock. Soon you will have your cat admit cards coming out. You would know your slot. So let's say hypothetically your slot is the morning slot at 9 o'clock. So you will have to start from your home at least about 6:37. And if that is the case, and you are used to sleeping till 10 o'clock in the morning, then please start changing it from now on itself. It's a very good idea to look at a sleep time of about 11:30 to, let's say, about 6:30 in the morning. That's the ideal time that you can keep for yourself at this moment, and then for the rest of the day you can plan your day for your preparation. It's not a good idea to be awake till 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning, and then go to bed and get up at 11:30 and all of those things. Please don't do that, because you don't know what kind of a slot are you going to get. And once you get that slot, please ensure that during that time period you are not disturbed. You are sitting at one place. Your body will get used to it, that during this time to this time it is kept at one place. It is made to work mentally, and that is going to give you a lot of benefits. When you are sitting on that particular paper, you are not going to feel sleepy about yourself. So some of us are used to taking a nap in the afternoon. If your slot happens to be, let's say, an afternoon slot, it's going to create a trouble for you. So with 20 days in hand, change your body clock. For the first 2-3 days when you are changing your body clock, it might create a bit of trouble for you, but it's all worth it. Get into a proper body clock, and then appear for this exam. Practice and revise as much as possible. So for practicing and revising, we are going to get into each of these sections and understand what kind of practice are we supposed to do, what kind of revision are we supposed to do. Let's take the first section, which is verbal ability and reading comprehension. First thing that I want you to do is mocks are the best source. Now, when I say mocks are the best source, I'm not saying once again that you should do 3 mocks in a day. It's absolutely fine to just do one mock in 3 days at this moment, where which you are religiously taking that particular mock as if it is your actual paper. The other 2 days that I'm talking about, what you can do is probably open a paper, submit it, and then go through each of the questions at leisure without giving yourself that strain of scoring really well on that mock. One in 3 days is absolutely fine. So in 20 days you can another write 4 5 mocks. That's absolutely fine. But writing every day a mock, trying to score every day on that particular mock is going to be very, very difficult and counterproductive for you. So at this moment, when you want to practice a VRC section, I'm sure all of you would not have exhausted all your mocks. So open a mock, submit it, take the questions and practice all of those questions. That's a very good idea to do, but not multiple mocks in a day. One entire section of VRC practice in a day is more than enough. It is going to give you practice of 4 reading comprehensions. It is going to give you about eight odd verbal ability questions. It's more than enough to practice for a particular day. Previous year's papers. Now, please understand this thing. I'm not asking you to write the previous year's paper in the form of writing the mocks. Please don't do that, because then what is going to happen is if suddenly you score a little lower and it is not giving you that kind of a percentile that you are hoping for, it is going to create a lot of damage psychologically. And I don't want your confidence, your morals to come down because of a particular mock that you have taken, right? So previous year's paper, you should go through every single question of previous year's paper, but I would suggest you to not take those papers as mock papers if you are not very, very confident. For those individuals who feel that their preparation is excellent, can go ahead and look at these kind of papers as the mock papers, but I don't want each one of you to do that particular thing. So if you're not 100% sure about your preparation, it's a good idea to just open that paper, submit it, take every single question and try and solve it and look at the answer solutions that they have given you. That's the way I want you to look at the previous year's paper for BRs. In verbal ability, focus on parasummaries and fill in the blanks. Let's understand one fact that by now most of you would have written several mocks, and you should have realized that para jumbles is going to be a difficult thing to crack until unless they come up this year with the options, and then it's a different ball game altogether. Whatever we have seen in the last 4 5 years, it's difficult to clear the questions of para jumbles. So what you can primarily look at is para summary, which is a good source of your score. Trust me on that. So because it is very similar to what you have done on reading comprehension. So if you have prepared exhaustively on reading comprehension, para summary happens to be a low hanging fruit for you. Please get that under your belt, practice quite a lot of questions on para summary and ensure that you're good at doing that. Fill in the blank is also to a great extent logical and can be done on the paper, but don't bother yourself too much about paragons, because that, honestly speaking, is not a thing that everybody can crack without the options being there. Keep reading. So let's say on a day you don't want to do any kind of a practice for CAT, you are not feeling like sitting and preparing. Take something up at leisure and read it. So let's say if you like sports, read an article on sports. There are absolutely no problem. You like history, pick up an article and read history for some point in time. Keep yourself engaged. Give yourself a reading task of about 40 45 minutes a day. That's a very, very good idea. Don't try to judge yourself that have I read it well, have I read it badly, whatever that may be, but just read at leisure for about 40 45 minutes every day. You can do that with the help of mocks also. And on some days when you don't want to write mock, when you don't want to take questions, just sit there and read something, and be in a habit of reading uh, the text given to you, because this paper is all about reading. So there's nothing else that I want you to do on BRC beyond this. Let's look at logical reasoning and data interpretation. It is very, very important that you practice data interpretation. A lot of students do this kind of a mistake where they overly focus on logical reasoning, and logical reasoning happens to be slightly more tricky than data interpretation, you like it or not. Data interpretation, the entire data is there in front of you. You have to calculate a few values. Once you have understood that data completely, calculating the values will not be a challenge for you. So it's a very good idea that every day expose yourself to a couple of DI sets and try and solve those sets, so that on the day of the paper, if you come across a DI set which is easier to do, go ahead and do it, right? So practice DI, it's a must. Don't overly get focused on logical reasoning and only try questions with logical reasoning. That's not a good idea. practice variety. Let's say if you're sitting today and you want to practice logical reasoning, and if you pick up four circular arrangement kind of sets, now that's not a good idea because you are not consuming variety. So what you should be doing is, let's say if you have 1 hour of time or 1.5 hour of time of preparation for logical reasoning and data interpretation, before you sit for that particular time zone, give yourself five sets, which is like 2 DI and 3 LR, and all 3 LRs must be of different nature, all 2 DIs must be of different nature, and solve those five. And that's all. What is it? What you should be doing as far as your preparation is concerned for logical reasoning and data interpretation. Previous year's papers is a very good source of very relevant content. So 2017 to 22 should be the first target for LRDA. You have in some of these papers 3 slots in a day, and in some of these papers 2 slots in a day. So you will get sufficient number of questions from logical reasoning and data interpretation on these papers. Pick up these papers from 2017 to 22 and solve these papers without timing yourself. Okay, solve every single question, right? That's all. 2000 to 2008, if time permits, go there. If you don't find time, then your first priority should be 2017 to 22 papers. Then you should look at 2000 and 2000 till 2008 papers. Between 2008 to 2015-16, I think the paper is not available in the public domain, so we can't really help that. So any practice from 2000 to 2008 and 2017 to 22 is a good idea at this moment to do. Know your targets really well on LRDI. Please understand, in verbal ability and reading comprehension, we want you to maximize your attempt, because getting a very high level of accuracy there is very, very difficult. So the only way to improve the score on VRC is to increase your number of attempts, right? But LRDI is exactly opposite to this, that in the last year's paper also, there was a slot in which one set correct would have gotten you 95-96 percentile on logical reasoning and data interpretation. These are facts that I'm quoting, right? So you need not to be overly focused and say that I should be doing 3 LRDI sets out of 4 presented to me on the paper. Let's not do that. It's a in some of the papers we have come across that situation where one LRDI set has got you a very good percentile. So even if you are writing a mock and you are getting one set correct, I'm absolutely fine with that score, and that's not a bad score. It is always a possibility that the other 3 sets were really difficult, or the entire paper was really difficult, and one set correct is a very good performance on that, and that happens on the CAT paper also. Even on the CAT paper, I would say a 2 LRDI sets correct on any kind of a paper, be it an easy paper or be it a difficult paper, is going to give you a very good percentile, a respectable percentile. And I'm saying a respectable percentile between 94 to 97, 98 at least. So if the paper happens to be easy, your 2 LRDI sets correct would get you a 94, 95 percentile. If the paper happens to be difficult, a 2 LRDI set can go as high as a 99.5 percentile also on that particular slot. Okay. So please know your targets. Do not exert too much trying to get the third LRDI set for yourself. If you are doing 2 LRDI sets at this moment correct, you are, there's every possibility that you will get a 99 percentile on the logical reasoning data interpretation section. So don't worry about the third set at all at this point. Let's look at quantitative ability and try and understand what we are supposed to do there. 5 rounds of revision. Now, please try and understand the thing that in next 20 days, I want you to revise whatever you have done 5 times at least. So for example, when you do your first round of revision, it might take a 2 days or 3 days for you to cover everything. So let's say I'm covering the entire arithmetics, wherein I'm going through each and every chapter. I'm doing 5-10 questions. It's a good idea to pick up the classroom exercise sheets and do those exercise sheets as a part of your revision. It's that covers most of the concepts there. It will give you a good idea. Those of you who have got the recorded sessions available with you can watch those also. Those are good places to revise. Give yourself a deadline of 2.5 days and say that I'm going to complete my first round of revision, wherein I will go through every single topic that I've done exhaustively, and I will ensure that everything is at the top of my mind recall available for me. Okay. Now take a couple of days break after that. Break in the sense, don't revise it once again immediately. Take a couple of days break from revision of quantitative ability, and then after 2 days, when you come back and try to revise, this time it should not take you 2.5 days. This time it should take you exactly 1 day, right? In that one particular day, you should be able to cover everything, because very recently you have covered the entire set of topics exhaustive, right? Your third revision should come down to as low as about 5 hours of time, right? Your fourth revision will come down to a 2.5 hours of time, and we will eventually come down to a situation in the next 20 days where you are able to, one day before the CAT paper also, are able to revise everything on quantitative ability, right? So please ensure that you do 5 rounds of revision before you get into the actual paper. Most of the time students come back and complain that, sir, I thought I knew that particular question, provided that formula would have struck in my mind, right? I don't want you to face that kind of a situation. Keep your ready reckoner there with you in terms of all the formulas that you want to keep on your mind and get into the paper. It's not a very good idea to give yourself 100 odd formulas to remember at this point in time. The number of formulas that you want to keep on your mind should be not more than 25. So 20 to 25 formulas, 20 to 25 numbers is what I want you to remember, not more than that. Beyond that, then you have not done your preparation really great. Avoid doing new topics. Now, don't get into a topic like geometry at this moment and say that in the next 20 days, I will try to cover everything on geometry. It's not a very good idea because maths is all about practice and you don't have sufficient time at this moment to practice a major module, right? One or two odd topics in the next 20 days, I'm fine with it, but nothing more than that in terms of adding anything new to yourself. Let's say you are coming across a topic which you feel that, sir, I don't know how I missed it and I've missed this particular module, but I really want to capture it. It's a very good idea to only do the classroom exercise sheets and watch the classroom videos, and that's all. That is more than enough for you to capture an easy question coming from that particular topic. Difficult question from that particular topic, you should skip. There's absolutely no problem. Variety as much as possible. So in a day, do not just sit and say that I'm going to only do time, speed, and distance questions. That's not a very good idea. So you pick up your previous year's papers, you pick up your mocks, submit those without attempting them, and then pull out questions and solve those 22 questions. It's a very good idea to do that because that paper is going to give you a lot of variety of questions across all the modules. So that's a very good way of preparing on variety front. Okay, please ensure every day you are exposing yourself to 10, 12 questions of arithmetics, 5, 7 questions of algebra, 3, 4, 5 questions of geometry. These are the 3 major modules that I want you to cover, and ensure that you are consuming good variety content every day from each of the topics. Previous year's papers, as I said, is a very good source of getting those kind of questions. Once again, if you are not very confident about your abilities, I don't want you to take previous year's papers as mocks. If you are absolutely confident about your abilities and if you think that you have done brilliant preparation, then go ahead, write those as mocks, but don't overdo this thing. So even in the last 5 years, if I look at it, there's on every year we have got 3 slots in a day, and there will be 15 papers out there that you will be looking at. Those are more than enough for you to practice. So please ensure that you are not taking those as live mocks if you are not very confident about your abilities. Okay, the last thing before I close this video is that please understand that whatever you could have done, you have already done it. If all of you look at your best performances on each of the 3 sections and are able to pull up your best performance on the D day, then I'm sure all of you are going to do really well. So some of you might have scored, let's say, a 40-45 on English someday. That particular person on some day would have scored, let's say, a 30-35 on LRDI. And let's say that particular person has scored a 30-35 on quantitative ability at some day. If you pull up all of these 3 best performances, one after the other, in the actual paper, you are going to get a 99 percentile. There is absolutely no denial, right? So all of you at some point in time in your preparation have performed really well on each of the 3 sections. You just have to pull your performance together on that particular day. That's all. So please keep your confidence levels high. Please keep yourself motivated and look forward to the CAT paper. Stay mentally, physically fit, and keep yourself in a good shape for that particular paper. On that note, I wish all of you all the best, and thank you so much for watching the video. Thank you.